Because who doesn't love people's dreams being absolutely destroyed? Hello everybody, welcome back to a brand new episode of Business Blaze with me, your boy with the blaze, Simon. And in this video, we're not actually going to be f***ing over people for a change, which is, you know, what a refreshing change of pace. This is actually rejected Shark Tank / Dragon's Den pitches that went on to epic success. The reason we're doing this is because I made a video about Dragon's Den and Shark Tank previously, and everyone loved it. I mean, I don't know if people loved it, they probably thought it was a bit but they clicked on it and viewed it, so that's fantastic. Just before we get started, I will say that this video is brought to you by the legends and regular sponsor / well, heroes, Backblaze. You can go to backblaze.com/blaze to get a 15-day free trial of their amazing backup solution, something you should do. And if you haven't done it already, why not? They always sponsor. And I always ask you to, and you always don't. Makes me slightly sad. I'll tell you more about them in a bit. What happens here, as always, is Danny has put me together a beautifully written, I would even say crafted, script. And then I'm going to make it worse by adding some commentary, adding some ramblings, and then Sam is going to try and make it better again by adding some fine vintage memes. Let's jump in. The Beatles, the Rolling Stones, Pink Floyd, blah, Queen, U2, Radiohead, Ham Patter. I get the feeling Ham Patter is not at the same level of these other bands because, I mean, I've heard of all of these except for the Beatles and Ham Patter. No, obviously I've heard of the Beatles. Although I was listening to, it was a podcast and like someone was talking about the Beatles and it was like, name the Beatles. And I was like, John Lennon, Paul McCartney, and then I didn't know who the other two were. 3 were? Beatles is 4 or 5? For some reason, I knew that the original drummer's name, who's Beatle 5, was Pete Best. I have no idea why I know that, because I don't remember the new drummer's name. Although I'm sure someone would be like, Simon, it's obviously this. It's obviously Peter Johns. Oh yeah, of course, Peter Johns. That Beatle. Well, we've done one line, and we're 2 minutes in. Brilliant work, Simon. You hero. Most successful bands in history all faced a long and rocky road to globe-conquering triumph. But in the case of Ham Patter, the journey is taking a little longer than expected because they tried to speed things up a bit by hitching a ride with Dragon's Den star Peter Jones, only for the millionaire investor to drive the tour bus into the back of a parked ice cream van that was on fire. Is that actually true? Why would a band go on? That'd be like me going on Dragon's Den, like, Dragons, I've got a YouTube channel. I'd like to invest in it. I'd be like, Simon, why would we invest in your... Although more precisely, I don't need your money. I think I'm actually in a position where it's like, yeah, okay, you can invest some money in me, but it's like, I don't need your money. What would I do with it? I don't know. And then I have to give them a percentage of my money and my business? I don't want to go on Dragon. I don't want that. I can remember watching Ham Patter stroll into Dragon's Den in 2008, looking to score an investment of £75,000. It seemed quite unusual to ask the Dragons to invest in a band rather than an innovative new product or service, and I was curious to see how it would pan out. Maybe they did go on to success. Let's see. This is the introduction, so Danny could always flip it around and be like, and that was a disaster. But let's look at some successes. Why am I telling you this? Why don't we just find out together? Let's carry on. The Cambridge pop rock band had already scored minor success with a top 60 single, a surprise hit in Austria, and a European tour. They were attracting interest from the notoriously hard-to-please UK music press at the time. The Enemy claimed that, isn't it just Enemy, or is it The Enemy? You know, like NME, New Musical Empire, or no one cares. Claimed that Ham Patter carried an arsenal of power pop nuggets, and the weekly paper tipped the indie band for future success. And despite the silly name, it is a bit silly, isn't it? Ham Patter really weren't bad at all. The Dragons certainly seemed quite impressed with their brief studio performance, and Peter Jones fought off competition from 3 of his fellow entrepreneurs to seal the £75,000 deal with a band that he clearly thought was destined to be the next big thing. And he usually knows what he's talking about. He's the dragon who invested in Levi Roots and his intensely wonderful reggae sauce. Oh, I'm really hungry. I've not had reggae sauce. God knows how, because it's immensely popular and successful, and I'm sure it's incredible. I really must try this.
Put some reggae sauce on your list. Thank you.
But sadly, Ham Patter didn't quite hit the same dizzy heights of fame. The bands claimed that the whole point of Dragon's Den was to stay true to their DIY indie roots and seek an alternative method of funding which didn't involve selling their souls to a record label. Dude, I guess it was 2008, so it's a little bit of a different time. But it's like these days you don't need a record label, right? People don't have record labels. What does a record label do? Except for take all your money. You can put it on Spotify, yourself. You can put it on YouTube, yourself. You can sell records, yourself. What does a record label do anymore? you can tour yourself. I mean, fuck all these middlemen. I'm generally like really anti-middlemen. With YouTube, I mean, I suppose YouTube's a bit of a middleman, but they're also the platform where I get to upload my videos to. And if I was hosting my own videos, it would be enormously expensive. So I'm quite happy to pay YouTube 45%, or they take 45%. Also, they do all the advertising, like all of that AdSense. It's like, I don't know, they just send me money. It's like you just click the button and all of these ads appear on your video. Like, what am I gonna do? Negotiate with advertisers? Google earn their money. YouTube earn their money to do that. But like TV or whatever, it'd be like, oh, there's that Macklemore song. Macklemore, how do you say that guy's name?
I make sure that everyone calls me Macklemore. If I could go back and change my rap name, I would definitely do it.
Where he's like, and then Ryan and I had 7% to split, and it's like, yeah. That. I don't want to get like 3.5%, so I'm very happy with my 55. But it appears that their existing die-hard fans and supporters were turned off by the band's appearance on a business reality show, which had come across like a cheap publicity stunt, and had concluded with an investment from a millionaire TV celebrity who had no background in music production or promotion. It felt a bit like the Sex Pistols auditioning for the X Factor. It just didn't really work. The subsequent re-release of the band's album generated negative reviews in the music press, even though it had been largely praised the first time around. How about music press? How about this? How about this? You do your job, which is reviewing music, rather than looking at the whole backstory of the band and see, like, people are like, oh, I don't like these manufactured pop bands and all of this stuff. Fine, don't like it. I don't particularly like it. But if I was a musical journalist, and okay, if the quality of the music, it feels manufactured, great. Write that. But if it doesn't feel manufactured, don't say that it feels manufactured, even if it was manufactured. How about you just do your job of reviewing music? Why is this so hard to do? And although their follow-up single received wide exposure and radio airplay on the back of the Dragon's Den publicity, it sold fewer copies than the previous top 60 effort and stalled at a lowly 71 in the charts. I don't know, getting into the charts is quite impressive. Perhaps the highlight of Ham Fatter's short career before they parted company with Peter Jones in 2010 was their invitation to Peter's lavish Christmas party at the close of the year, where they got to perform a duet on stage with Levi Roots and hopefully got their hands on a few complimentary bottles of reggae sauce. So the whole thing wasn't a complete waste of time, but it just goes to show how even the shrewd entrepreneurial minds of Dragon's Den, Shark Tank, Beaver's Lodge, Goat Shed, I like Goat Shed, Dog Kennel. I'm gonna start, I should have my own, like, it'll be a shitty version of Dragon's Den, where it's like I can review business pictures, and we'll call it Goat Shed. It'll be my 11th channel. Brilliant, genius. I should pitch it on Dragon's Den. Messer. Dog kennel, chicken coop can sometimes make the wrong call. And it's one thing to waste hundreds of thousands of dollars on an investment that didn't quite go to plan, but how gutted must they feel when they pour their signature scorn over a pitch and send the participant home empty-handed, only to eat their sour words later on when they realize that they brutally dismissed an opportunity to make millions. I don't know, Sam, play that gif of the guy crying into his money. That's probably how they feel. They're business people. You're not going to win every one, and you don't feel bad about the ones you missed. Because otherwise your life would be miserable instead of enjoying all of your money. At the very least, it must make them feel like a bit of a tit. I don't think they care. It's like Bill Gates, the conspiracy theories. He's Bill Gates, he doesn't care. Like, why would he care? He's mad rich, he gives away all of his money, he knows he's a good dude, he doesn't care. The Tangle teaser. Oh, I know this one. My wife has one of these. It's like a weird hairbrush. It would be interesting seeing exactly what goes on behind the scenes during these shows before the cameras start rolling. And we've discussed this before, but I genuinely reckon it's like the producers of the show, they like pre-interview the people, obviously, because you can't have people going in there and pitching like, well, I don't know, they do get some like pyramid schemes, I was going to say, but occasionally they let them through, and it's just for entertainment value. They know that there's going to be one that is going to get absolutely ripped to pieces. Because look, I mean, I work in media, and I see some of those, and I'm like, even me, as a non-business person, I'm like, immediately, this is a scam, or this is a piece of shit. And then they go into the den and they get absolutely destroyed. And it's like, well, you're wasting the dragon's time. You're also making a really good TV show. Because who doesn't love people's dreams being absolutely destroyed? I would assume that the show isn't scripted and that the reactions of the investors aren't rehearsed, as this would surely drain all of the tension out of the scenes. And besides, we'd have known about such fakery by now. But I do wonder if the dragons and sharks at least get the chance to read up on the pitch before it's actually presented to them, and maybe even jot down a few potential puns and jokes in their moleskin notebooks. And the UK Dragons certainly had a lot to play with the Tangle teaser in 2007. Sean Palfrey was a professional hair colorist with decades of salon experience when he showed up in the den looking for investment for his new rubber hairbrush, which apparently detangled knotted hair quickly, smoothly, and with minimal yelping. Sean was seeking £80,000 fine British pounds for a 15% stake in the Tangle teaser. But it was a nervous and awkward pitch, during which he suggested that dragon Deborah Meaden's hair was coloured, prompting the investor to indignantly question his credentials as a professional hair colourist. I've seen this pitch, actually, and I remember when he said that comment to Deborah Meaden, and it was clearly a joke. And also, I mean, no offence, Deborah Meaden. Well, I'm not actually in front of you, what do I care? I'm 33. You're definitely a lot older than I am, or were when this came out. A lot. Couple of decades. How old is Deborah Meaden? Deborah Meaden. Deborah Meaden is 62 years old. And this was in 2007, so 14 years ago. So Deborah Meaden would have been in her late 40s. I'm 33 and I found one grey hair. Look, it's not offensive to say that someone colours their hair in their late 40s. It'd be like looking, someone who's super old and has absolutely super dark hair, and it'd be like, oh, what colouring do you use? And then being like, don't be a dick, I don't colour my hair. Even if you didn't. It's like, it's fair to assume that someone of that age colours their hair. I felt Deborah Meaden was unnecessarily a bit of a dick on that, and the other dragons were quick to smell blood and wheel out their comedy material before it was too late. Peter Jones declared the venture to be harebrained. While Duncan Bannatyne went with, it makes me want to pull my hair out. Well done. More significantly, the dragons were unimpressed with what they deemed to be just a brush and declared zero interest in investment. Duncan Bannatyne concluded his own observations with the words, "It's not a business, Sean. It's not a business that would make any money." Sorry, Scott. It's not a business, Sean. It's not a business that would make any money. I don't know why. I can't tell the difference between Irish and Scottish, so it always falls somewhere in between. I mean, that and shit. Duncan Bannatyne is Scottish, I think. It turns out Duncan was wrong, though. Shortly after the episode was transmitted, the Tangle teaser website crashed as a result of surging demand. Now sold in over 75 countries, the product proved to be a big hit with messy, knotted-haired celebrities, including the likes of Victoria Beckham, Nicole Scherzinger, never heard of her, and Emma Watson, have heard of her.
Hermione, no!
The brand posted record sales of nearly £30 million in 2020, and Sean Palfrey himself has a net worth of £10.6 million. Hero! Which is not bad considering that's over a quarter of the all completely natural Deborah Meaden's total net worth. That's awesome. Although the net worth thing's always kind of like estimated bullshit, because it's like, I don't know, like I see things online and it's like, it's like one of the top search Google things. It's like Simon Whistler is worth £100,000 or $100,000. And I mean, I don't want to brag. If I was only worth £100,000 or dollars, I've been doing some wild ass spending on cocaine. It's still some way off Peter Jones though, who despite frittering money away in ham patter, is reported to be worth over £400 million. Yeah, and this is interesting about Dragon's Den, because it's like the dragons are not equal. Peter Jones, there's a huge difference between someone who's worth £500 million and someone who's worth £40 million. Like £500 million, you're talking like, that is mega money. 40 million, don't get me wrong, £40 million is a lot of money, but you're in a different league, and they're all treated as equals in the den. And it's like, yeah, but I mean, their lives have been about accumulating money. Yes, we can assume that. And Peter Jones has basically done it 10 times better than Deborah, and he doesn't colour his hair. Coffee meets bagel. This was one of the most curious pitches ever to be conducted on US Shark Tank, as it concluded with the biggest offer ever made in any version of the show at the time, and it was turned down. Bold. Coffee meets bagel. I've never heard of this. Coffee meets bagel was a new twist on the online dating app, first launched by 3 young Kang sisters in 2020. Daewon, Aram, and Soo Kang originally hailed from South Korea but moved to the US as teenagers and already seem to be doing pretty well on their own, having raised $2.8 million in external funding before hitting the Shark Tank in 2015. I was initially a bit confused as to why the dating app is called Coffee Meets Bagel. I don't know. Maybe all I know is that coffee and bagel are 2 of the most glorious creations by man. I thought that maybe customers were given discount vouchers on coffee and bagels when they met up for a date, but maybe that's where I went wrong with Perfect Partners all those years ago. Membership and weddings in Rotherham would have gone through the roof if I'd thrown in a couple of free heart-shaped doner kebabs. To be honest, the name still makes little sense to me, but apparently the male customers are called coffees and the females are called bagels. Don't get it? What am I missing? The app harnesses the power of your Facebook profile to provide you with potential matches based on friends of friends. Every day, the males receive... Why can't we just call them men? Why do we call them males? It sounds like we're doing some sort of goat dating game. It's like, well, the females are presenting and the males are right. So why are we doing a nature documentary? Also, I love in documentaries they call it presenting. The female baboon is presenting to the male. Ba-da-bum-bum. Every day, the men receive a batch of new bagels to consider and have the option to dismiss or like each match. If the bagel in question also likes the match at her end, a private chat line is opened between the potential new couple. The app is geared towards women who are likely to prefer the idea of a quality match based on mutual connection rather than a total stranger popping up out of the blue sending creepy messages about his Marmite fetish. The Kang sisters were seeking a pretty ambitious $500,000 for just a 5% stake in the company. That is a lot of money, and Kevin O'Leary was quick to clear himself out on the grounds that he doesn't waste time on paltry 5% deals. Mark Cuban also initially passed on the idea after the Kang sisters refused to disclose the exact number of active monthly users on the platform. Maybe because they're doing it on... No, you have to disclose that. But then he had a dramatic change of heart at the climax of the brief encounter and made a counteroffer to buy the entire company for $30 million. Holy Mark, you absolute baller. It's like, I don't want 5%, I want the whole thing, and I'll give you $30 million. Good Lord. This clearly wasn't the offer the Kang sisters put on the table, and they only took a few moments to reject Mark Cuban's quite staggering proposal. But it's 3 times what they valued the company at. Am I making a mistake there? $500,000, 5%? No. They valued the company at $10 million, and he offers them 30 with the whole thing. I guess they just really had faith in their company. Damn. They reckon that they were on track to be as big as Match.com, who was pulling in $800 million a year. God damn. So they walked away from Shark Tank without a cent of investment. It's debatable whether this counts as a shark rejection, as there were technically rejections on both sides. And it's not entirely clear if the Kang sisters made the right decision. Since they left the tank, they've drummed up another $23 million over 5 rounds of investment without having to give up their company. Well, they've definitely given up large slices of their company. But they've yet to get anywhere near the same level as Match.com, although the platform is still reportedly growing every year. Yeah, it's only been 6 years. You got time, guys. However it pans out, you have to give the Kang sisters credit for having the nerve and the ambition to almost instantly swipe left on a $30 million deal from a shark. That is wild. I love it. Destination... Oh, I'm sorry. It's time for me to tell you about the legends over at BB. Not Business Blaze, that's Backblaze. Isn't it joyous that our names come together in such a beautiful way? So you may blaze with watching the blaze, and you must also blaze all of your files up to Backblaze's servers. This is not what they want. I like this. Okay, so normally a brand will give me like a huge document, and they've just sent me, here are some riffable talking points, Simon. I'm like, that's brilliant. $6 a month. And I don't know why they don't include it here, but and it's not on the points, so I'm not sure if I'm supposed to mention it. But it's like, dudes, if you buy like 2 years, if you buy a year, I think it's like $60 a year. So it's actually $5 a month if you buy the... Normally when you do an advert, right? It's like, yeah, it's only like $2 a month. And that's like, yeah, if you sign up for 40 years. And this is like, no, $6 a month. And that is the most expensive it can be. It can get cheaper just by many years. Unlimited backup, and there's no gimmicks, add-ons or gotchas. I've used it for years. Every year I get a bill for $50 and that's it. And then, or $60. Oh God, I don't know. It's cheaper. It's cheaper. It's like $5 a month if you buy like a year. Oh God, I'm sorry for screwing this up so much, but it's really cheap. And I've never had a bigger bill. I back up a ton of stuff, and it's always like, here's your yearly bill. It's cheap. Great. Thank you. No gimmicks. Unlimited backup. It's unlimited. You can back up all the pornography you want. And also video files. I mean, other video files and documents and stuff that you should be backing up. Backblaze has over oh my God, I don't even know how to pronounce that. Zettabyte? Exabyte? Okay, that's a billion gigabytes. Jesus Christ, that's like 1 million terabytes. Oh my God, that's a lot of data. I actually didn't look up the pronunciation of Zat or whatevers, but I did look up. I was like, how big is a zettabyte? I looked it up in Google, and I was like, this was the comparison that I saw. And it was, if a gigabyte is the size of the Earth, a exabyte, 1 billion gigabytes, is the size of the f***ing sun. How wild is that? So this video will be maybe like the size of 2 Earths. It was 2 gigabytes. So maybe it's like 1 point something. So let's just say 1 Earth. The size of Backblaze's entire service is the size of the sun. The sun's really f***ing big. They've restored 50 billion files for their customers. Live in the EU? Yes, I do. You can even select for your data to be in the EU when signing up for a trial. I don't know where all my data is. I guess I didn't sign up for that because this is, I guess, a new feature. So I guess it's in the US. That's really far away. Web restores anywhere in the world. Restore by mail. Hard drives shipped to your door. So if you've got a slow-ass internet connection, you can just get them to ship your hard disk. And there's a refund program so you can send the drive back and they'll give you a full refund. So you're not even paying for the drive. Although the drive seemed quite reasonable, so I'd just be like, okay, it's a little bit more expensive than buying off Amazon or whatever. But it's like, I don't know, I just wouldn't bother going to the post office, I'll just keep it. Worried about accidentally deleting your files? Honestly, not really. I've used Backblaze for a while, I've never had any issues with that. $2 a month and you can increase your retention to 1 year. Great. It's so cheap. I mean, good value. Good value. Mobile apps for access and download your files. I don't do that, but I suppose I could. It's recommended by the New York Times, Macworld, Tom's Guide, Business Blaze, 9 to 5 Mac, and more. I just threw in Business Blaze in myself to make myself sound important. Not really. 15-day free trial, backblaze.com/blaze. Plenty of time to upload and download some files. Back up your stuff. Look, we've talked about Business Blaze. Oh my God, they're too similar. Backblaze a lot, and I've used them a lot. I'm not sure. Look, I guess at some point Backblaze will have to stop sponsoring me because every one of you will have Backblaze, and that'll be a sad day for me, but I will actually be happy. Because then I'll know that it's like all of you have Backblaze and you're all backing up your files like good legends. Backblaze, get it done. Get yourself some Backblaze. Backblaze.com/blaze. Destination London. Never heard of this one either. Danny, aren't these supposed to be like smash hits from the world of Dragon's Den? I've heard of the Tangle teaser because my wife has one and she absolutely loves it. The Portsmouth University student Rachel Lowe was working part-time as a taxi driver while studying for her law degree, and it was her cabbie knowledge that inspired her to develop a family board game, which was originally called Destination Portsmouth. Not a million miles away from Monopoly, the idea is that you and your friends take on the roles of competing taxi drivers and work your way around the locally themed board to pick up passengers and secure cash. The clever marketing angle is that the basic shape of the game could be rebranded around different cities and towns, creating distinctive local versions of the game, which Rachel intended to sell around the UK. She was seeking an investment of £75,000, not a small amount of money, into her company, and she pitched a new prototype for Destination London to the Dragon's Den in 2004. But the pitch didn't go terribly well. Rachel was reduced to tears, oh no, and she found herself struggling to answer basic questions about the company's finances and unable to explain the difference between gross and net profit. Look, I mean, I know Dragon's Den is an entertainment show, but you are running a business, and you should really go in there with, at least a rudimentary, and gross and net profit is rudimentary, understanding of your accounts. Dragon Rachel Elnort, I don't remember Rachel Elnort. This was back in 2004, that was a long time ago, caught the mood of the den when she declared, "It doesn't seem like you've prepared very well to come in front of us today." I guess it could be too easy to focus on your product. Like, if you've developed a cool board game or whatever, you're probably not, look, just have someone else do your finances. This is why there's often two people. Like, if you're the creative person in it, just have a mate or have your accountant come along and just get them to explain the stuff and just pay them. That would make a lot of sense if you're not really super aware of the finance. Like, if I was presenting it, I don't really understand I'm not very good at business and finance and stuff. But if I was pitching to someone, I'd just invite my accountant to come along and explain things. And he'd have spreadsheets and shit, he'd understand it, and I'll be like, this guy knows what he's talking about. Yes, I might have built it, but I have no idea how it works. Rachel Lowe was sent home without a deal, but her story went on to take more twists and turns and bumps than a typical midnight taxi ride home from the Dog and Bollock in Rotherham. Later that very same year, she struck a deal with the London megastore Hamleys. Holy that's a big deal. Hamleys is a big toy store. To stock Destination London, where it became an instant hit, outselling Monopoly and Twister that Christmas. God damn, those are popular games. Although, I mean, Jesus Christ, isn't there market saturation? Who's buying a Monopoly set? It's like, I feel like they're issued with every family. It's like, I don't even know if I have a Monopoly set, but to be fair, I left the country I was brought up in. But you can bet that you go into a house in the UK and they'll have like a ratty old Monopoly board somewhere. Over the next few years, the game spawned a total of 23 new local variants based on exotic places including Birmingham, New York, Paris, the Isle of Wight. These are exotic. I mean, Birmingham and the Isle of Wight, Sheffield, and even a few fictional places such as Downton Abbey, Hogwarts, and Scotland. Do you think they have a lot of taxis in Hogwarts? In 2009, Rachel was awarded an MBE by the Queen for services to business after having boasted, "The dragons must be kicking themselves now. It feels good to show them they got it wrong." You know what they say, the best revenge is massive public success. She was surely tempting fate with that line, though. Rather embarrassingly, at almost exactly the same time she was picking up her MBE for services to business, her own business was placed into administration. Rachel was declared bankrupt and her home was repossessed. Rachel, I mean, Maybe when you couldn't explain the difference between gross profit and net profit, it was time to bring on like a CFO or like whoever does an accountant, anyone, Rachel. It was Harry Potter's fault. The release of Destination Hogwarts had meant to tie in with the release of the Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince movie, but unexpected delays with the film had pushed back the release of the game, leading to a major cash flow problem. Rachel's critics, including grumpy shareholders who had lost tens of thousands of pounds in the company, observed that Rachel's appearance on Dragon's Den should have served as a warning, that while she was undeniably talented in some areas, she clearly struggled in getting all the numbers to add up. Former Dragon, Duncan Bannatyne, seems strangely happy to kick the boot in. Oh, Duncan, why? I know she said, oh, I bet they regret not investing in my thing. Yeah, that was kind of a dick move. You're all mega rich millionaires, or no, none of you are billionaires. You're all mega rich millionaires. Take the high road. I'm the worst at this. Like, oh, fuck down in the dirt. Like, someone will comment like this video sucks. Smash the dislike button. When he declared that it was obvious Rachel was never going to make any serious money. However, Rachel O appears to already bounce back since then. She formed a new company and launched fresh versions of the game in 2012. London Olympics and Pixar Animation Studio characters, and currently develops brand new games based on strangely random licensed tie-ins such as Laurel and Hardy, WrestleMania, and Call the Midwife. What are we doing? If we wait long enough, there might still be time for that long-awaited Macamee board game. I want the Business Blaze board game. Oh, I don't even know what that would be, but Yoko Ono would be involved. There'd be some button you can press, like it'd be the punishment, and Yoko Ono, ah! Hungry House. An interesting point to bear in mind about these business reality TV shows is that not everything is quite always as black and white as at the conclusion of each episode might seem to indicate to the viewers. We tend to think of each pitch as a success or a failure depending on whether the dragons or sharks come close to making an investment or not, but it turns out the businesses can get quite complicated and not every deal can be thrashed out during one brief segment of a TV show. Obviously. I mean, there's going to be tons of due diligence after. You don't just walk out and it's like, yes, I got 75 grand. It's going to be like, well, there's going to be people, they're going to want to see your books, they're going to actually want to make sure that you're not lying, that it's not some scam. They're not just going to hand you despite the dragon sitting next to giant piles of money, they're not just going to be like, there you go, have fun. There's going to be all sorts of lawyering. Despite the fact that many pitches end with a triumphant handshake, most viewers will never be aware that the investors later changed their minds and they got down to the nitty-gritty. In fact, a study of the first 11 series of Dragon's Den revealed that just over 50% of seemingly successful deals were never actually completed, and only 5.8 million of the 13 million pounds ever changed. Of the pledged 30 million pounds ever changed hands. One such case involved Hungry House in 2007. This was long before we all started clicking on phone apps to order a takeaway from local participating restaurants, and Hungry House was one of the early pioneers in the UK. I very rarely get a chance to use anything like this unless I'm away from home. Annoyingly, just when the people of Rotherham click on an app like Hungry House or Just Eat, they get a long list of 448 different restaurants from which a tantalizing menu can be perused. Here in Tintagel, and Danny provided me a pronunciation guide, Tintagel. Tintagel? Let's just say here in Cornwall. You don't get a single damn one, and I'm left with no option but to brave both the weather conditions and the real human interaction down at Granny Wobbler's Fudge Pantry. Cornwall's so weird. It's like the past down there. When Shane Lake and Tony Charles entered the den, they were seeking £100,000 in return for an 11% stake in their new Hungry House app, and some dragons displayed a surprising lack of vision for the future of takeaway delivery. It was 2007. I was still at university in 2007. Nah, this would have been very forward-thinking. I don't think I had an iPhone. But both Peter Jones and Thea Papitas felt that the investment was too risky, while Deborah Meaden declared, I don't think you go onto a website and think, what do I want to eat tonight? I just don't think that's people's thought process. Oh my, how times have changed. However, both Duncan Bannatyne and James Caan agreed on camera to stump up the cash, only for the deal to collapse later on behind the scenes when James Caan expressed fresh reservations about the company's ability to get enough restaurants on board at the required speed. I feel unless, if that wasn't handled, I mean, obviously you don't have to pay. Like, you've got a handshake deal, and yes, it's a bit of a dick move to go back. But if there's new information reveals, like, I assume James Caan here got some new information, because he's not just going to be like, yeah, I changed my mind. That would be a bit of a dick move. There's going to be something that has changed his mind that he's discovered later. This was no great blow to Hungry House, though, as they quickly secured investment from other sources in exchange for a considerably lower stake in the company. I've never heard of Hungry House, though. I mean, I don't live in the UK, maybe it's a thing, but doesn't everyone use, what's that one? Deliveroo? And getting restaurants to participate didn't pose too much of a problem either, as over the next few years, 10,000 restaurants around the UK chose to partner with the app. Hungry House was ultimately swallowed up by Just Eat, never heard of that though, in 2008 for a pretty tasty £240 million. Good lord! Well done, chaps. That's impressive. James Caan and Duncan Bannatyne may have experienced a similar problem to me when trying to use the app, as all they could come up with in their local area was a dodgy greengrocer selling cheap brunts of slightly acidic grapes. That's very specific. This is so long, Danny. They're so long again.
Gay!
The Doorbot. Finally. It's quite common on Dragon's Den and Shark Tank for a contestant to propose an initial offer of something like a 5% stake in their new venture, only to end up giving away about half of the entire bloody company, as it seems preferable to walking away without a deal. But just now and then, the Dragons and Sharks get a little too greedy for their own good and end up missing out on a vast fortune. Perhaps the biggest mistake ever made on Shark Tank was when Richard O'Leary pushed a little too far with his bargaining power. Okay. In 2013, a guy called Jamie Siminoff showed up in the tank with a novelty doorbell, which he had christened the Doorbot. I've not heard of this, but is this going to be one of those, like, turn into, you know, one of those smart doorbells that everyone has? Or at least I hear them advertise on podcasts constantly, like Simply Safe or something like that. Why aren't Simply Safe sponsoring me? Come on, Simply Safe. I hear you advertising on every bloody podcast that exists. Well, to give Jamie credit, it was a bit more than just a novelty doorbell. He had invented the Doorbot to help make his wife feel safer when she was home alone. The smart video doorbell came with an integrated video camera which connected directly to your smartphone so that you could see who was standing in your doorway without having to walk all the way to the front door. Smart. I mean, I guess maybe this was a revolution in 2013. This would, although I have that here, like I've got a system at my desk for like the buzzer on the door upstairs, if I want to let someone in or not. And it's got a little camera on it. And I mean, this thing looks like it was made in 1973. I wish I could show you it. It looks like an old telephone. It's got this grey screen on it. This would obviously be an ideal tool for avoiding Jehovah's Witnesses and door-to-door salesmen and unwelcome relatives, as you could spot their faces on your phone and then pretend not to be in. Alternatively, you could speak directly to the visitor through the video camera. I can do that as well. There's a little phone I pick up. And let them know that you'll be along to them just as soon as you finish burying the bodies under the kitchen floor. Oh my god. But more significantly, it serves as a useful burglar deterrent. Apparently, most burglars tend to ring the doorbell before attempting to break in, just to check that nobody's in. I'm not quite sure what they're meant to do if you answer the door. Maybe they apologize and explain that they'll try and call that back in a few hours when you've gone out. But the handy thing about the Doorbot is that you can answer the doorbell from your own phone and give the illusion that you're inside the house, even if you're several thousand miles away participating in the Beach Volleyball World Championships in Hamburg. Again, Danny, incredibly specific, but thank you for painting a picture for me. Jamie had already started flogging the doorbell from his garage and was now looking for a $700,000 investment. Damn! In exchange for 10% of the company. That is a valuation, son. $7 million? Kevin O'Leary was interested, but he was chasing slightly different terms. He offered Jamie a $700,000 loan, a claim on 10% of all sales until the loan was repaid, 7% royalty on future sales of the product, and 5% of the company's equity. Oh my god, that's confusing. So he wants less. He wants to own 5%. He wants to give it as a loan, so he gets all of his money back from sales, and 7% on all future royalty sales of the product. That's the confusing part. So royalty on future sales of the product. Maybe the royalty will expire. And then also that would free him up from it would just be that product, it wouldn't be other products that the company can develop. Kevin, why did you make this so complicated? This was a bit much for Jamie. He turned down the offer and skulked off back to the garage. Sadly, the Doorbot never became a household name and was never really heard from again. But wait, didn't someone get too greedy? That doesn't sound too greedy. It just sounds like he wanted less equity in the company and for Jamie himself to take on more risk, which sounds entirely reasonable. Like, the deal is confusing, but it is incredibly reasonable. Anyway, but I would just get confused and leave. Because if I were him, I'd be like, Kevin, I need you to tell me that in English. What does that actually mean, Kevster? Sadly, the Doorbot never became a household name and was never really heard from again, but that's largely because James decided to rebrand it as Ring, which I've heard of, and they're like Simply Safe. They advertise in every podcast. Ring, I'm waiting. I would replace this weird phone system I have with a black and white thing with your Ring system, but I mean, you have to pay me. This has sounded like a terrible deal for you, but hopefully I'll sell it. And then you'll be happy. That's how advertising works, I think. I've just said I'm not very good at business. Richard Branson was one of Ring's early supporters, throwing in millions of dollars of investment alongside other big fish, including Goldman Sachs and Qualcomm Ventures. The company expanded into the development of drone surveillance cams and car alarms before Amazon started sniffing around and decided that they wanted in on the novelty doorbell action. I sense a massive acquisition is coming. Everyone's about to get very rich. Amazon eventually bought the Ring company in 2018 for somewhere between $1.2 and $1.8 billion. Someone got that island money! I mean, Richard Branson already has that island money, but this Jamie guy, now he has that island money too. You suspect that Richard O'Leary now wishes that he hadn't been pissing about with overcomplicated... Wait, it wasn't Richard O'Leary, it was Kevin O'Leary. Who the f*** Richard? Richard Branson. I'm so Danny, you're not making this any less confusing by screwing up their names.
I don't understand, bitch.
I'm already confused. You suspect that Kevin O'Leary now wishes he hadn't been pissing about with overcomplicated loans and royalties and equity deals and just snapped up 10% of the company on offer. Yeah, boy, because that's a lot. Meanwhile, Jamie Smirnoff recently found himself at the other end of the Shark Tank when he was invited to appear as a guest shark for an episode in the 10th series in 2019, although he didn't seem to make any notable investments. That is so baller. It's like you went on Shark Tank, you turned them down, and then you got so rich that you're now a f***ing shark. Legend, Jamie! He's probably secretly hoping that Ham Patter would stroll through the doors pitching an idea for a long-awaited reunion concert at the Hollywood Bowl. Oh, are you ready for it? 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 Are you ready? This has been an episode of Business Blaze. I have been your boy with the Blaze. This episode was brought to you by Backblaze. You can get Backblaze. There's a link below, or go to backblaze.com/blaze. If you'd like to get this t-shirt, it might not be on sale anymore because I was going to do it just for 4 weeks. It's an OGBB. Pick it up while stocks last. I'm just joking. It's print on demand, but I will stop selling it because we need to lock in the OGs. Thank you for purchasethemerch.co. Thank you for watching. What does that actually mean, Kevster?